Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Devon quit karate during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? So in this timeline, the events of Cobra Kai Season 6 would still happen. The Saikai Taikai would still be revealed to take place in Barcelona. So Daniel and Johnny would still have to pick 6 fighters to compete in the Saikai Taikai, and they would still have a hard time deciding on who would go. So much like in the original timeline, Daniel would still bring in Mike Barnes, and Mike would still do a series of challenges to determine the top students, and those challenges would carry on. Mike would still choose his top 4, and Mike would still have to decide the remaining 2 spots on Miyamoto's team. Those events would continue, and much like in the original timeline, Johnny would still go talk to Mike, and those events would stay the same. And the next day, Mike will still say that the last 4 were too close to call, so Mike will still want the remaining 4 to race, so the challenge would begin. But in this timeline, Devon wouldn't put laxatives in Kenny's water, so Kenny would arrive at the flag first. But this is when Devon would show up, and she would want to take the flag from Kenny, but Kenny would be too fast, and he would avoid Devon. So Kenny would start running back to the group, and he would make the team. Dimitri and Hawk will still fight over the last flag, and much like in the original timeline, Dimitri will still take advantage of Hawk, and he will still get the last flag, so Dimitri would be the final member on the Miyamoto team. Devon would be disappointed, and she would be mad that she didn't make the cut, but Johnny would say that she did a good job, and that he was still proud of her. Season 6 would continue. Tori's mom would still pass away. Johnny and Daniel would still want Miguel and Robbie to compete for captain, so Miguel and Robbie would still fight. Robbie would still be balanced in this timeline, and he would still defeat Miguel, so Robbie would still be the boys' captain. Sam and Tori would still fight, and Tori would still be fighting with anger. Amanda and Daniel would still stop the fight, and much like in the original timeline, Tori would still quit Miyagi-Do, and she would still leave. So in this timeline, Sam would be the girls' Miyagi-Do captain, and Daniel and Johnny would choose Hawk to take Tori's place. Those events would continue. Miyagi-Do would still make it to the Saikai Taikai, and they would be surprised to see Chris and Cobra Kai there, and they would be heartbroken to see Tori and Cobra Kai. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Robbie would still want to talk to Tori, but Tori still wouldn't want to talk to the Miyagi-Dos. Kwon would still be challenging the other dojos to a kicking competition, and Robbie would still accept Kwon's challenge, so those events would stay the same. Eventually the Captain's War Challenge would begin. Miyagi-Do would be on defense, and they would still be doing Protect the Egg, but Tori and Kwon would still want to go after the Miyagi-Dos. Kwon would still go after Robbie, and Robbie and Kwon would still fight. Robbie would still be distracted by Tori, so Kwon would still take Robbie down, and Miyagi-Do would be out, so only the Cobra Kais and the Iron Dragons would remain. The rest of the Iron Dragons would still walk off, and Zara and Axel would be left to fight the Cobra Kais. Zara and Axel will still take down Kwon and Tori, so the Iron Dragons would win. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Miyagi-Do would still have to knock the other dojo off the platform, but Miyagi-Do wouldn't do so well. Miyagi-Do would still have to fight out Dublin Thunder. Robbie and Sam would still start off, and they would fight their opponents, but Robbie would still be distracted by Tori, so he would still be knocked off. So Hawk would join Sam on the platform. The fight would continue, and Sam would still be knocked off. Kenny would join Hawk, and they would continue fighting. And in this timeline, Hawk and Kenny would finish the fight, so Miyagi-Do would win. And much like in the original timeline, Carmen would still be rushed to the hospital, and Johnny and Miguel would have to leave, and Danny would call for Anthony to take Miguel's place. Anthony and Amanda would arrive in Barcelona, and Daniel and Sam would be happy to see them. The Miyagi-Do students would still go explore Barcelona, and they would still be at the tapas bar. This is when the Cobra Kais would show up, and Sam would still go outside to get some air. Kwon would still want to mess with Robbie, so Kwon and Robbie would start to have a rivalry. Zara would notice the connection between Tori and Robbie, and she would still want to mess with Tori, so those events would stay the same. Sam would still be walking down the beach, and she would still run into Axel. She would still compliment Axel on his kata, and the interaction between Sam and Axel would stay the same. Eventually, Miguel and Johnny would come back to Barcelona, so Anthony wouldn't get a chance to fight in this timeline, but he would still go and watch the Saikai Taikai in person. The team matches would continue. Miyagi-Do would still fight Furia de Pantera, and the fight would stay the same. Dimitri and Hawk would still be arguing, and they would still land a point on Dimitri. Sam and Maria would continue to fight, and much like in the original timeline, Sam would land a point on Maria. The fight would continue. Hawk would continue the fight, and in this timeline, Hawk would tag in Kenny. Kenny would fight, and he would manage to land a point, and he would tag in Miguel. Miguel would finish the fight, and in this timeline, Miyagi-Do would beat Furia de Pantera, and during the next team match, Miyamoto would fight Redentores, and Miguel would still start off. He would use a combination of offense and defense, and he would tag in Robbie, and Robbie would land the first point. Robbie would tag in Kenny, and much like in the original timeline, Kenny would get 2 points, and they would still advance in their matches, so Miyamoto and Cobra Kai wouldn't face off. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Cobra Kai would still fight Tiger Strike, and that fight would stay the same. Cobra Kai would fight Furia de Pantera. The match would be close, but Cobra Kai would end up winning, so both Cobra Kai and Miyamoto would make it to the semifinals. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Tiger Strike would still be eliminated for cheating during the tournament, so Furia de Pantera would take their place. The semifinals would begin. Quan and Diego would still fight, but Quan would still defeat him. Zara and Maria would fight, but Zara would still defeat Maria. Axel would still fight Robbie in the semifinals, and that fight would stay the same. Axel would still knock Robbie back, and Quan would still hit Robbie. Miguel would still be mad, and he would go confront Quan, but Axel would knock Miguel back, so Miguel and Axel would want to fight. Gunther would see that the Saikai Taikai was getting out of hand, and he would want everyone off the mats, but this is when Sensei Ivanov would knock Gunther out, and the brawl would still happen. Miguel would be angry, and he would fight Axel, but Axel would be able to knock Miguel back. Miguel would try using his defense, but Axel would get through it. The brawl would continue, and the season was still in the same way. Quan would still want to stab Axel, but Axel would sweep Quan's leg, and Quan would still land on the knife, so Quan would still be stabbed in this timeline, and everyone would be shocked. And that is where I'm going to end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Devon quit karate during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.